Oshner, planning board consultant.
Nancy Rossi, the planning board engineer.
Sandy Nolly, secretary. Lon Sharrett, planning board member.
Jason Mencher, planning board member.
Kim Jacobs, planning board alternate.
But for, just to be clear, for tonight, you are a voting member. Yeah.
Okay.
Being as planning board member, our chair. First item on the agenda, North State Development Group, 549 North State Road, site plan review.
From the last time we were in review, we went through and tried to make all the changes that we spoke about. We did add the landscaping. Also, we have gone through and redesigned the interior, so we moved the walking bags inside. Again, we put the walking bags in here. We added storage area, and by doing all this, we also reduce the number of seats that we have. So they're asking for the reduction of the parking when lower as well. So we asked for 9 parking spaces before, we are down to 3. That was very much.
My comment is I was really happy with these changes. I thought the applicant felt the owner from the letter listened and heard us, and I'm very pleased.
And the neighbors will.
Neighbors will appreciate that change. I think it's going to be better for everyone. I don't believe so. So I'll put this one.
So I do.
I know. Donna.
So I think it's really great they brought that in. And thank you so much for that. That was real good. And the landscaping looks good too. I would suggest the 2 plants that you're choosing, which are really excellent. One is a perennial and one is a shrub, and have them sort of planted together. So probably, I don't see that the landscape plan has to change. In my opinion, I don't think that would be warranted, but probably plant like a clump of the perennials and then a group of the shrubs and, something like that. So they're just not going to grow well together like that. That was my only comment. So there were a couple things that were addressed, and Sandy was able to capture these in our minutes that we had asked about confirming the trash pickup time and noise issues related to the compressors and the after hours cleanup. So I didn't know if your client had addressed any of those.
Well, we did, we haven't selected a company
Okay.
to do the first pickup, but we look at it this way that whatever the board, we're going to try to keep with them to pick up the trash at a time where it's not 2 o'clock in the morning.
So if, obviously it's gonna be more garbage than the gym generated, unless they're really sloppy gym people, but, I would imagine a restaurant's gonna generate a lot more. So, and there's trash pickup now, so is it just gonna increase? It's gonna be more frequent, or,
I believe that that's going to happen, yes.
because we're not gonna add any new trash receptacles? No, okay. All right, so that, somehow, because there was a time where the trash pickup was like 3 o'clock in the morning and then it changed.
Right,
to
but
more
I believe
reasonable
that has been changed already.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's gonna stay to
From
what
my
it is.
conversation with the owner, things like that have been an issue
Okay,
and that have been changed.
okay, so it's gonna stay the way it was, which is really good. Okay, and then of course, there's gonna be now, as a restaurant, they're gonna put equipment on the roof for the cooking.
Choose the vent, yes.
Right, right. So the way the building is, if you saw a picture of it, not that line drawing, if I have the other building that's behind me, so it's a false roof. So I guess you can see it from from the top. So that false roof, it serves as like an amplifier and vibrating the sound. So on the other side by that resident, it's also going to amplify any sound. So I'm asking, I had talked to the building inspector, and he said the new units are pretty quiet. Compared to the older ones, and but possibly there's a way to put some backlight or some screening on the roof. Just, I know with artists in the living, they did that, where they put up a little fence. Just so the person's not looking right at it, because their house is right there, so I don't know if that's something.
Now, those specs, have they been drawn up yet, like the specs for whatever?
The mechanical system, no.
So that would be, I was gonna say, that'll be the purview of the building inspector, right, to approve one aspect of the scheme. So then we could add a condition that the building inspector is satisfied with screening for sound
Right,
attenuation.
something like that, I think would be really good. I think that would be.
We would add that to our resolution.
Right, right. And then the other thing, I went back there again and, so like where that residence is and how the backyard is situated, and they're looking directly at that building. So I know you were proposing to do the 10 mountain laurels. In my opinion, and I'm a plant lover, but in my opinion, it's just never going to screen effectively. And I think in this case, so I'm glad you're all sitting down, I would choose not to do the plants, and I would put up a stockade fence in that
But there
area.
is one way.
That's a, what do they call that? The chain link. fence.
Chain link with the
Yeah,
snap.
that's not gonna keep the sound of the doors opening and closing all the time. That's a metal fence. So if anything, it's gonna make it vibrate more.
I was gonna say, why not arborvitae? I don't, if it's purely for screening purposes, those will grow in, those will keep growing.
And a deer. will be-
That's the answer. So you're educating me.
So I just think that because it's up on, there's a 4-foot wall. And if you had an 8-foot stockade fence, just from where the building, so there's the L, so just where the building,
I don't think that area gets a lot of deer though.
what?
That area gets, I mean, I have arborvitae in my yard and deer never. They're just dying.
I don't know if
I
an
don't
8-foot
know,
fence,
they're over in
I don't think
my
8-foot
place.
fence would be code. I don't know.
On the side?
Yeah, and I'm not sure.
I don't know, we allow it.
4 and a 6. Yeah, just 4 and 6. I think just a solid fence would be better.
I'm not sure having two fences together is.
But the chain link fence isn't gonna do anything to put a 4-foot chain link fence. That's not gonna keep the sound. A metal fence is not gonna keep. the
Right,
sound.
but I thought we have done.
Well, then we moved it inside.
Right.
They moved the walk-in inside, so
So there's 4 doors there. On that back, facing that neighbor.
But there's only, I mean, then from the kitchen, there is one door that is active. I mean, and I thought that by taking the walking backs inside, that we were.
Yeah, I just think it's.
are you confident that a fence is a better attenuation of sound?
Yeah, and also like this is where the employees are gonna go have their cigarette.
Yeah, I mean,
breaks and
I
everything else, and they're
imagine
looking right
if we
inside.
wanted them to do a fence instead of planting.
Or plant they think is better suited than what we're supposed to find.
No, it's really shady there, and I just feel like the plantings, if they're not on top of it, the plants are never gonna live.
Where are you proposing to have this fence?
So, see where there's an, it's like an L in the back, where are we looking
I
at?
mean, I think that instead of putting metal fence, or then if you wanted to change the chain fence, at least in that portion of the building,
That would be,
it could be a stockade or a wood fence.
that'd be
We're
fine.
good with that. I don't think having two fences.
Okay,
No, I
that would be
agree with
fine.
that.
That'd be totally fine. If you could coat, so just up to covering where the trash bin is.
Yes,
So that's that
That's-
area.
so
yeah.
remove the landscaping and change.
That would be my,
I'm,
So we're removing the landscaping on the drawing as
as
just there.
just
Yeah.
the mountain laurel, 'cause I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna be.
And change, there's a chain link fence on top of the concrete.
remove the chain link, you replace it with a 6-foot.
Right, just from where that L
Or
is.
whatever code
Code
compliant.
compliant.
Right.
Code compliant.
Yeah, over to
That
where,
the maximum
Yeah.
height permitted by code.
Perfect.
because the landscape
No,
goes up.
You're solving a noise problem.
Yeah.
Because no one's really gonna see that.
Well, no, they're looking.
The resident will. If I was a resident, I might like plantings, but I would rather sound
Right.
attenuation.
Right, and something that.
No,
No
it's-
more than employees.
Yep.
Yeah, so, and the other comment I have is that there's these big giant lights on that side of the space. They have them all around all of the buildings. And if there was any way to take the ones, the three that are facing, they're way up on the top of the building, directly out towards the residents, if they could be changed to downward shielded lights in the back.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Just
which
keep the
one,
same.
all right, so this is so we need to identify exactly what, because it's gonna be impossible for John to go out to the field and understand which lights we're referring to.
Well, I was with him,
Right.
guys, I can,
I can.
and I can
think-
show you, I took photographs.
Yes, but in terms of the record, because we've had this many times in the past, and then somebody says it's not in the, so in the record, which lights are we referring
Okay, so
to?
they're in the back area, see where the trash bin is, and then there's the area that goes behind where the new restaurant is. Where the, yeah, the.
No.
Right, so there's no lights indicated right now on
Yeah,
this
but
plan.
Yes, everything is existing.
Right, so everything's existing, so we're proposing to change out existing lights.
Yeah, there's a light on the,
So can we just say that the ones that are on the rear side, on the rear of the building, are need to be pointed down as opposed
Yeah,
to out?
shields, yeah. Just shields.
So we don't have to change them, we can
Right.
keep the existing lights,
Right.
it's just, loosen them up, point them down, tighten back up.
it's a,
Right, so we're just saying rear building lights need to be pointed downward.
Or shield.
Yeah.
Different shields that you can have them.
and that they low below. With low water, so it's not like a bright light.
So,
Yeah. So other than that, do you, so with the trash time is staying the same. Just,
Backing fence instead of the.
right, mountain.
Overall,
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Shields on the lights.
And the building inspector will be satisfied with some attenuation or some sort of screening.
Right,
sound
right,
mitigation.
yeah.
Mechanical
Yeah,
system.
Yep, right, that'd be great, okay. And other than. Oh, I just, I saw the last set here, and I just noticed there's some inconsistencies, just so that they're all consistent, it's like the back page, still had the refrigerator on it, the walk-in.
Oh, the.
Yeah, so just that that's, so there's.
So we can
consistent.
go, there are two plans that got changed,
Right,
two sheets, which was the site
yeah, just make them
plan and the
consistent,
full plan.
yeah.
We understand that those are the.
Then your hours of operation will be 6:30 AM to 10:30 PM.
Yes.
And then-
Both of them, yeah.
So the resident had brought up, delivery, like food delivery, and what, do you know what times that's being started?
They're in business now.
During business hours.
Okay.
During business
Oh,
hours.
fantastic. So it'll be at
Yeah.
about 6:30,
Yeah, they're only at 6:30.
okay, when the business is open.
They were saying 10.
They'll do later, but they're just saying it won't be outside of business hours, which is great.
Perfect, perfect, thank you so much. That's great.
Motion to approve. Only two
Wait,
resolutions.
so we have, it's a public hearing.
Uh,
So, well, first you have to see if anyone's here to speak on the public hearing.
Are there any comments from the public?
No comments, no comments from Zoom.
So now you can close the public
A
hearing.
motion to close.
Second,
So you need first.
you just made the motion.
Can I do that?
Sure.
Chair?
I can make that one.
Yes.
Yeah, I.
Yes.
Yes.
You gotta get Karen back.
All right, now I'd like to make a motion to, can we do both resolutions at once? Okay, so there's two resolutions. We'd like to make a motion to adopt both. One is a resolution of the planning board approval, one is a resolution of the architectural review board approval as amended during this meeting by our consulting. plan. Second,
Yes.
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 Good luck with your restaurant. We hope you
Thank
succeed.
you.
And thank you for making this change. It's very considerate and that's good. Thank you.
You're doing such a good job.
How long? It's still down, open up. Every
There you
6
go.
months, one,
Let's go ahead.
3 months, 1 year, 2 more. Great. Thank you very much. See you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, Burtonville Owners LLC. Site plan
You put a hearing last month, so this is really just a discussion.
We did receive a few comments,
This was it, I read this whole thing. It wasn't late, it was late. The letter.
Email or the?
oh, there was a letter from the public.
Yeah.
Right.
I was, the public hearing is technically closed, yes, so it was circulated to you, but, the level of that you want to give to it, the public hearing was closed prior to this happening. The public hearing was open before the planning board for a few months once this happened.
John's not here.
So John had a conflict, so I did talk to him for quite some time, like he said, so I'm happy to play traffic engineer tonight and repeat what John would say if he was here.
So you can have a British.
What would John's response?
Is he
So Don would have said that, look, the traffic study that he performed was thoroughly prepared, vetted by the Augie's office and from her office in particular, and was expanded from the initial study that he had prepared. But just from a traffic count and intersection analysis standpoint, he thinks we're totally covered. The intersection that she's focused on is where John also recommended the 3-second signal change to take 3 seconds off of Route 9 going north south, which would add green time going east west, and that's what she's concerned about. Everything else about folks not putting the blinkers on and going to bed, that's enforcement and take driver's ed. So that's just not within applicant's control. So John's fully confident that, and if we get a little granular, this intersection is now operating at a sea level with the future, without the project, just normal future conditions will go with a D, increase from 33 seconds to 37 seconds. And then with a large event at our facility, we'll go to an E. But then with the 3-second adjustment, back to the D. So the 3-second adjustment essentially keeps the intersection at the same level, the same grade that it is expected to operate at in the future with the normal growth. So again, we're not causing any impact. The 3-second keeps it at the projected level.
At a C, normal growth gets it to a
With
D.
the
And mitigation, even with a big event, keeps it
at a D. Yep, and then one other comment was about the Sunday church traffic. Look, we're not gonna have large events on Sunday, so John wasn't concerned with that conflict. Again, if anything, the 3-second was the only moment for this intersection, there was any potential issue was in the morning, the event like the March of Dimes, which has like a morning large event, then there might be a conflict in the 3 seconds takes care of it.
Yes, yes, I'm good for 3 seconds.
DOT,
Okay. So you have to-
yes, right. And by the way, I should also mention,
Is there a letter from DOT?
so not yet, but close. There is a memo from, again, Osmond Barry at Nelson Pope that concurred with that 3-second mitigation. It does say that any signal timing modification should be coordinated with the relevant jurisdictional agency, i.e. DOT, whether state or county for approval. So that can be a condition of our approval to coordinate the signal timing.
Is it anticipated the state will do that 3-second change?
Yes,
I guess
that's what John would say. I got nothing further.
that kind of relates to the other comment that you had about the follow-up studies.
Right, so
related to
I
Parking and traffic as it's currently drafted. If DOT doesn't approve that, then it may be prudent to leave that traffic provision.
if DOT doesn't.
Maybe we could frame it that way, so.
Which traffic?
So, again, great resolution, we're mostly comfortable with it. I don't know who authored it, so it's not a shot at anyone in particular. I'm gonna keep my head down and make that comment. The only comment we have is in two places in the conditions, it's in, condition 2 and 7B as in boy. They both reference a post-approval or post-occupancy traffic study in addition to parking. We had always talked about in the process about a post-approval parking study, because parking is still fluid, because of the shuttle and the valet and the land banking. So that we agreed to a post-approval parking study and monitoring program. For traffic, we hadn't discussed that because again, the traffic numbers checked out fine, so we didn't give the need for post-approval traffic. But I understand, Christie's idea that, in the event DOT doesn't approve the 3-second mitigation, then certainly in that event, this would have no problem doing a post-approval traffic.
But a traffic study just. Maybe that would be a full-blown study or. Well, I understand, there's just, right, you scope the study, so if you can make them do counts 10 times, if you make them do counts twice, I don't know, so.
You mean regardless or only if DOT doesn't approve 3-second?
No, if DOT doesn't approve it.
Yeah, that's fine.
That might be,
Is that what
that
the-
might be a good middle ground.
Yeah, when we were drafting it, what were we?
Well, I mean, I just figured, because there was a concern about traffic in the future, just in general, in terms of like once this is in full operation, because of all the different uses and other potential, like expansion of like, bringing a spa or something like that, depending on, and so that's why I just figured, well, if they're already gonna do parking, revisit on the parking, just having, putting down a couple, like, again, traffic counts, doing it for like 2 days and verifying. And,
But if DOT accepts the mitigation, you're comfortable without any traffic?
I mean, that's fine too. I mean, this is all the,
Let's come back with that.
Yeah, come back.
For
Yeah.
example, that's a senior living home. so
Yeah.
they come back. That work we want.
well, no, because I thought, so I think the assumption is you will potentially have a restaurant that would be a, so you wouldn't have to come back to that.
Like, it's more like the senior living. for
Right, it's
example.
really the senior living, which is why I thought just having that additional, putting the traffic in there in case you do have a very popular restaurant, you do have a lot of, events taking place, right now it's corporate events, but at some point it might be a lot of weddings, it might be a lot of, we want that to happen, so if for some reason it needs to be adjusted, this was just putting that in there, just for one, it was really only just one year.
Yeah, I think John would say that if his projections take into account successful operation. For all these different-
Would it make sense to condition it on if the DOT doesn't approve?
We're totally comfortable. with
Well, that would be the halfway measure, right? It's either no matter what, or only if DOT doesn't, or nothing. So there's 3
it.
options.
We're fine with DOT.
But I do
You,
thing. Say that
no, you need something much more specific for them to be comfortable. I mean, it has to be something that's like a condition. But I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, I find it unlikely that in the next 2 years, we're not gonna be back here because we're gonna have to change. Part of the building. I would, probably.
Not people bad. Fair game.
Yeah.
When he did the background, when he anticipated, did he anticipate for full use of the facilities for all? So there, it was, he did it as conservatively as
The
possible.
worst case.
Yeah. I'm comfortable with that if Dollar agrees with that, kind of, if DOT won't approve that mitigation.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Yeah, so we're gonna do definitely a post-occupancy parking study.
Yep.
And traffic study if DOT is not approved 3-second.
Can that parking study, maybe it already is contemplated, kind of opine on whether that whole plan for shuttling or, we talked about if that works, will that be part of when you're looking at parking?
Absolutely.
Because if it doesn't work, then we revamp it and make it work.
I just, the
And
valet,
all that.
All of that.
Okay, good,
Exactly.
great.
then in regard to in 7B, I believe the applicant
It must be a parking.
was part of it. And for what it's worth, we've submitted our final, if you were asking how many weeks to it.
No, I mean, I think I just wanted it as part of the record.
Yeah, so we'll resubmit it.
Right.
Yeah.
Just so that it's together, everything, so there's no confusion.
So I had just a couple comments on number 6 in the conditions, since we're right there. Should that be submitted to the town planning board or is it submitted to the town? In advance?
The town board of planning board is.
I mean, I think it would necessarily, I think this is probably one of the things I added, and I believe it came from the town board resolution.
Right.
We can try to be more specific. Generally, in any sort of situation like that, I think they would start with the building department,
Okay.
and then it would get directed to the appropriate board from there. So it was just a matter of the principle that if there's any additional development or change to the uses beyond what's being contemplated here, they have to come back. That's really the principle. But if I can say the building department, if you'd like to, like,
No,
Or
it's
to the
just a cover.
appropriate or the
Yeah.
relevant town department, there's a better word.
So my other comment would be on the first page, which is the third whereas. Talks about it's located in the EE Business Education District. I would really love it if it could also say, and within the, and I'm not sure what the right title is, the Indian Brook Watershed Overlay District.
because that is something, yes.
Right.
Town board recently passed.
Right, but so I think it's Croton, is it Croton River Gorge or?
Indian North Burton.
Right, so whatever the proper title is.
It doesn't affect anything related to this application,
Right.
but it's just an acknowledgement that
Right.
now it's.
Right, that it's within that, yes.
Along with the topic of that kind of clarifying information, it brought to my attention, I guess, in the string of tax lots, there's one missing.
Where?
Just in the heading, and then in the second whereas clause, there probably multiple tax lots. And so lot 80.14. Sorry, just wait for you. 80.14-2-13. I came from Bonnie. I confess I didn't double check it, so if you want to double check it, that was from Bonnie.
Public hearing.
Public hearing was closed last month.
Motion. I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution, planning for approval for the application of Crotonville LLC.
Oh, excuse me, we have one attendee has their hand up. Don't know, may I allow them to speak?
Let's hear it.
Hello. My name is Jamie Black. I know that Liz Feldman had said that she was going to pass my comments along that I registered at the town board meeting when the public comment section was still open. And I'm hoping that those are the notes that you have in front of you. Additionally, as people understand who live in Crotonville, you're talking about the primary exit for the Crotonville area to get onto Route 9A North as well as Route 9. And the reason why there's a gravel pad to the right of the light is because of the backup of the traffic in that area. And we requested that pad in an effort to be able to get around people who are going straight or people who are turning to the left. So I appreciate the traffic study that was done, but It's not really realistic to the traffic conditions that exist for the neighborhood. Additionally, I requested that the helipad be taken out of service. It was put in place as a luxury to Jack Welch when the Crotonville Center was a reform school for his underperforming executives, and it was their last stop before they were exited out of the company. He wanted the ability to fly the helicopter from Fairfield, to land at the pad, to reprimand them, and to exit them out of the company. That helipad is a risk to the community because low-flying helicopters are in fact a danger over high-density neighborhoods. And that's the reason why the FAA creates stringent requirements prohibiting the use of, the helicopters to fly in specific neighborhoods that reflect the composition of ours. Additionally, as the board knows, we're currently in litigation with Metro North and the MTA because of the low frequency noises that they're generating at the Croton area, specifically the replacement Harmon Yard. They're generating low frequency noises. They are identified as infrasound, and they're extremely hazardous for people with any type of heart conditions, preemie babies, and also it's extremely disturbing for sleep. So we've recommended that the applicant be denied the opportunity to expand the use of this property for a hotel and obviously an assisted living facility until the problem with this noise generation has been resolved. So that's and the attorney sitting there certainly understands how important this case is because the town board was the one that recommended that we sue Metro North and the MTA because of how serious the problem was and how little success they had trying to get it corrected. So you've got three issues. One, the traffic study isn't realistic. Two, the helipad has to be taken out of service because it no longer has a need or a functional use, especially with 24/7 communication any place in the world. And if somebody's that important, one, I apologize because I'm a Crotonville resident. One, they're not going to be in Crotonville. And number two, if they're so important, they'll have a stat phone so they can have meetings and communication with anyone in the world 24/7. So you don't need the helipad any longer. And then lastly, it's a battle with Metro North and the MTA. Low frequency noise is something that is extremely serious. That's why they highly regulate the placement of wind turbines to residential communities. It's because wind turbines generate low frequency noises. So you have three conditions that currently exist that suggest that one, this applicant in terms of the additional traffic for the primary exit of our neighborhood, it's completely unrealistic. I live there. I've lived there since 1996. Two, helipad has to be eliminated. You don't need it. And three, if the applicant can do anything to align with us to help Metro North understand that that facility is in the vortex of the noise and it has to be addressed and addressed successfully and optimally be addressed swiftly. So thank you very much for your time with this. It's, three uncomfortable issues that all relate to the health and safety of the residents of our community.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I respond?
Absolutely.
So these were comments that were raised before the town board as far as the low frequency noises as it relates to Metro North. This is something that was brought up before the town board that the applicant has heard before. It is their decision whether or not they choose to move forward with the uses. As far as recommending litigation, the town board and the supervisor, both past and current, did what they could on behalf of the residents to try to facilitate a resolution with Metro North, and were not able to get anywhere. And so ultimately at some point had to say, if you guys want to pursue this further, it has to be of your own volition and through your own attorneys. The fact that the residents decided to pursue litigation, I have no comment on the substance of, and I've certainly never advocated for that. As it relates to the helipad, this is something that, as was mentioned, has been in existence for as long as GE was operating. It is not actively operating, as I understand it right now, and as a condition of the town board approval and in your resolution, condition 4, the applicant is going to be required to enter into an agreement that aligns with what GE was required to abide by for the use of helipad. So in practice, there should be absolutely no change to what was previously operating when it was under GE's ownership. And then as it relates to traffic, I understand Ms. Black has opinions about the substance of the traffic study. And I've had discussions with her about this, but the reality is we have Mr. Canning, who prepared the traffic study. We have Nelson Pope, who reviewed the traffic study. And so we really have to focus on the expertise of those individuals and not just someone saying that it's not going to work in practice. But as we discussed this evening, we are going to require the post-operation parking study, and if the DOT does not approve the 3-second modification to the timing, then there will also be an updated traffic study. I don't know. All right.
Since the site maintaining a certain consistency, I'm ready to move forward.
I will remake my motion to adopt the resolution for planning board approval for Crotonville LLC.
Second.
Vote.
Yes.
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 And I say yes as well. Thank you all. Thank you, staff.
Good luck. We hope you're very successful.
Thank you.
Good to get tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, that's a game, we want to get it.
See you next week.
Yeah, hopeful, that would be great.
We have some few minutes.
Yeah, I have a question, not about the subject. We need a quorum, right, to adopt any of these meeting minutes? Just want to make sure, like, I don't know who was at each one,
I was at the meeting, so I.
so we're fine.
Yeah,
Cool.
and I think we're three.
I think all of us have been at the time.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
but we also
I
had a
do
time when
also
people we were like, wait, can I say yes to this? I wasn't there at that meeting, so as long as, that's what I wanted to make sure that whoever's voting was up. Were we all, Sandy, can you, I don't have it in front of me. Can you just make sure that
Everybody was.
all 4 of us were at both of those?
I don't remember any of it.
I didn't have them. I'll make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from the August 21, 2024 planning board meeting, September 18, 2024.
Second.
That happened.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, so we need a motion to close. To adjourn.
Like, a motion to close the meeting. Close. Adjourn the meeting.
Sandy will.
We all vote.
Yeah.
Right now, as of right now, we don't have any new applications.
No, nothing on the
No,
horizon.
so there is a chance that the November meeting will. Which is also part of the reason why we wanted to get that